and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast with the science and the screaming to determine the best movie for any given year. This season we are, of course, doing 1991, and I am joined by my two co-hosts with the most, Ryan and Mike. And gentlemen, tonight we are picking the final four movies.
Right this way, folks, right this way. I'm sorry, Craig. It is SRO tonight. There are so many guests here in studio for this wonderful occasion. I do think, and this is not my job, like I'm a panelist. I would say co-host, but
I'd say chode host.
I have to stage manage right now, and Hooray for Hollywood should be playing through all the speakers in the auditorium. I do not know what's happening. I do
Yeah, and
apologize.
it should be loud.
Is that like Hooray for Hollywood?
Yeah, it's
Hollywood.
Hooray, good, that's a good question, Mike, but Hooray for Hollywood is the song where the only lyrics anybody knows is Hooray for Hollywood.
All the boomers and the groomers have come out tonight, ladies and gentlemen. All to shine in the stars of Hollywood. Now, we've got a lot of great movies to talk about tonight, but every time we do it, we're also going to have to make one painful adjustment where we remove a movie. Oftentimes we talk about not being ready for this, but it has been like 100 years since this season
I have
started.
no emotional attachment to any of these now.
Did we stop because the 2021 Best of the Years?
Yes.
And then also the 11-year anniversary?
Yep.
Was that all in the 1991
Yeah,
season?
dude, this started like
what?
I think this started back in the summer.
Yeah, it was
This
like September,
summer.
I think, where we started talking about 91, and it is almost September.
We had to stop for the 11-year anniversary because everybody
Yeah.
knows what an important anniversary
You
that
got to
is.
get out there and celebrate the whole 1-1.
Fans, let us hear it if we had skipped the 11th year anniversary. Can people hear that at home? The booing, the
The
rage?
booing, they can
Yeah.
definitely hear that. It rains down. Something we sort of have to address, I think. There's a little bit of an elephant in the room, and you're probably at home wondering, wait a minute, I'm going to check the feed. Did I get all my episodes here?
Oh, right.
I know that, let's see. I've got Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, it's in the feed.
Listen to that 7 times. they're
Addams
probably saying.
Family. Yep, that's there. Make sure you got to get Cinema Classic Addams Family, right? But there might be one missing, and it's called A Brighter Summer Day. And we had technical difficulties, which I think is kind of like a little bit of a patina on the show, a little bit of wear and tear that kind of gives us grit and makes us cool.
Yeah, it's real. It's punk rock.
It's how we keep our indie cred.
And in honor of A Brighter Summer Day, which came out in 1991 and then nobody could see till 2016, I'd say check this feed in 25 years, and then you'll be able to finally hear that episode.
What if Criterion puts out our episode with like a ton of special features?
I hope they find a way to get rid of that buzz.
Scorsese
and
does
tell
a
us
commentary over
how
it?
they did it. But is there anything we want to say about it? I was blown away by it. It was long. It's very naturalistic. It's non-actors acting. It's done very well.
So pull back the curtain a little bit, because this is still Patreon, right?
No,
Never.
Oh, shit.
this is us with the regular
I got to put on pants.
Gen Pop folks.
We pushed this movie back probably 6 or 2 weeks. Like,
Yeah.
we just kept moving it back because we were so scared. 4 hours, guys, is so nerve-wracking.
You could watch all of the Batman and then start it over again and get some of it done.
I mean, the new way that math works.
That's how you track all time.
But I don't know if we mentioned the length a single time on the episode because it's just okay. Mike did a little bit, but Mike's also the one who deleted his files. So
Deleted it. I was like, I sound stupid. This is done. I'll say it. It's a put your phone out of the room. Just fucking watch it. Strap in. Don't. It's not like I'm gonna really have to think. It is a fun movie about gangs and teenagers. Like fun might be the wrong word, but you know what I mean. Like it's not like
it's engrossing.
We've watched harder movies.
Yes, this is not Tarkovsky. I can't put my phone in the other room because I have to film every movie I watch for my TikTok live audience. They want to watch it with me, so I had to hold my phone up for 4 hours while watching this. But that's what I do for my fans.
That's how your wrists broke.
There are a lot of very interesting things in the movie. The whole premise of the movie is Chinese expats living in Taiwan in the literal houses of where the Japanese conquerors used to live, and just this pastiche of all these cultures, of all of this like different types of violence, all this lack of leadership, and how it trickles down and tears one family apart and creates this culture of extremely violent, extremely young kids.
It looks like Hook in some scenes where there are 10-year-olds fighting full-on adults, but the full-on adults are also pretending they're 15.
But it's not soapy. It's not like this family fell apart because of slaps and affairs. It's just the way that all families fall apart. It's the way that all three of our families fell apart when we
Swords
turned
and
to
the law.
gangs.
I mean, it was everybody so in this movie, Brighter Summer Day. It's everybody so enmeshed in their own shit that like they can't be there for each other in the family unit. I mean, the dad literally just gets like arrested by the secret police and interrogated for days on end. And then when nothing comes of it, he's just sent back to live with his family. And he's like, I'm not the same anymore.
Yeah.
Hey, man, if you don't want to be busted by the secret police, don't tell other people's secrets. Greg, you said expat. Do you mean like Tom Brady? Now, it's possible that I said that on the actual show.
Yeah,
and it
nobody
got
will
deleted,
ever know.
So I wanted to make sure I said it here.
But we were raves all around, right? Like we
Yes.
thought that
Yeah.
there was a chance this could win Movie of the Year. The major
And now I think, again, legally, I don't think it can. That would be so unfair to the listeners.
Okay.
And the one major big strike against it, we'll talk about it later, is like what Mike said right at the top, which is who in 91 in America, the country of record, even knew this movie existed.
Well, it's pretty 1959.
Yeah,
The vibes of the movie
it's a
aren't
little-
that 91.
A little obsessed, I think.
Should we have saved it for when we do Movie of the Year 1959?
Yes. Yeah, and now movies did they come out in that time or did they
Nope.
take place in that time period?
It's all breaking down. It's all falling apart. The movies we will be talking about tonight are Silence of the Lambs, Terminator 2, Beauty and the Beast, A Brighter Summer Day. Gosh darn it! So many times I did not say
Even
a brighter
that's a
summer
technical
day.
difficulty.
Brighter Summer Day, The Addams Family, Boys in the Hood. Oh, and Barton Fink. Barton Fink. I do
Barton
not have
Fink.
that drop. When we come back, we are going to talk about our first matchup, and we're going to make our first cruel cut. All right, gentlemen, it's time to make our first cruel cut, and I think all the characters in both of these movies would be really into that. It is number 1 seed, Silence of the Lambs, versus number 8 seed, The Addams Family.
Number
Now-
8 was
now-
Addams Family?
Now might be a good time to talk about what goes into our decision-making process. We were all kids at the time, right? Is it going to be the movies that bowled over our 10-year-old selves? Is it going to be the movies that endure forever? Because depending on how you answer that question, it might give one of these two movies an edge.
I mean, like, we should talk about the endurance thing and stands the test of time, not just quality-wise. Like, didn't have a bunch of racist, homophobic, misogynistic jokes. That's one way to stand the test of time.
Love movies that do that.
But the other way is how much is it part of the conversation? And you would be shocked to know how much Addams Family is still part of the conversation, particularly after watching it.
Well, I think most people, I think the cultural consciousness really slams together the two Addams Family movies that count.
Yeah.
And I think Family Values is doing a lot of heavy lifting for the warm feelings for the Addams Family.
For me, I can't believe that Addams Family is still so big now that they're like still in the process of rebooting it. And I can't believe how many of the actors and actresses are still out there killing it. My favorite part of the Addams Family episode was going over Christina Ricci's career and seeing that
she
it's like
rocks.
honestly it's peaking again for like the 18th time. With
She's involved in a show called Wednesday that's about to come out.
I know, right? Which is like her character, like it's just gonna be, hey, what's just going on with Wednesday?
But I think it's a new young whippersnapper playing Wednesday, and she's going to be like a teacher. or
She's the
principal or something.
mentor.
She should be the new Morticia, right? Or I guess she doesn't have that same Angelica Houston slinky vibe.
No, she's got her own Christina Ricci vibe. In what universe would somebody who has a podcast like ours be like, you know what? Silence of the Lambs, get out of here.
Here's what you say, Greg. One, Silence of the Lambs is not talked about anymore.
Also shocking. You said it's shocking how much Addams Family is. It's shocking how little Silence of the Lamb is talked
It
about.
needs to be continued to talk about. And two, I think that if you were one of us three buttholes, but like a superior butthole,
Oh, that would be
Just
so
a big
great.
gaping butthole.
How awesome would it be? Swap this bad boy out with a new fresh one. Oh man,
No, they-
none, of,
smell.
none of the wear and tear.
they say you should change it out every 3,000 miles. That we're not anti-Oscars. People put that on us.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
our Reddit page is always like,
The message boards are on about that all the time.
they were like, when I was a kid, I dreamed so hard that one day the Oscars would be cool, and you guys have done that for us. And Silence of the Lambs was so like, one of the most Oscar-rewarded movies of all time, that maybe that gives us backlash, I guess.
But I do think it's like, I was going to say SNL theory, but I don't think it's accurate. But the bad opinion people have of the Oscars now is not always true. Case in point, Silence of the Lamb was nominated for and won a fuck ton of Oscars back then, and Get Out was not. You know what I mean? Like, this kind of movie.
Definitely not this year.
The new Oscars would be like, nobody's in colonial clothes. No.
Right.
Does your movie solve racism? No, then we're not interested.
While making white people look the best.
I pride us on not having the very limited thought process that the Oscars do, like Mike said, of colonial clothes.
I am rotating a sphere in my brain as we speak.
But I think that to say that we can't vote for it because it won so many Oscars, that's as closed-minded as the Oscars are.
Oh,
so.
of course. We would
That's
never
when
do
punk
that.
rock also becomes fascist.
It's not like we watched Green Book and we were like, this got too many Oscars. We hate it. We were like,
No.
hey,
I loved it even more.
There's
I
not
hate-
enough Viggo Mortensen rolling up the uncut pizza and eating it like a big taco.
Okay.
I'm mad.
That's why he should have won an award for
Mike-
best way to eat food in an Oscar.
My complaint was that it was too much Viggo Mortensen and not enough Viggo from Ghostbusters 2. And if it was him driving Mahershala Ali around the city, that would have been
Or
great.
everybody's favorite from My Girl, Slimer.
So Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 and Slimer from My Girl are driving around Mahershala Ali.
I am there, driving around in a hearse.
Wait, is that the number 1 and number 8 seed we're dealing with right now? Viggo and Slimer? Because this is tough for me.
I have to say, is Silence of the Lambs, is it not talked about as much anymore because it kind of grew into other properties, some of which have been talked about? Like Hannibal, the show, was real. I never watched a single episode, but people were into that
People
show.
were into it, but again, it's weird how this specific kind of property, other stuff lingers and is generally talked about. This is like, it's hot and then it disappears until it gets hot again. Or is Clarice on CBS and nobody fucking talks about it ever.
What I do hear a lot is, like over the last 20 years, let's say, is every once in a while you'll have somebody writing an article or on a podcast being like, I just fucking watched Silence of the Lambs recently and holy shit. I hear that regularly.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because we just assume. I think this is Oscar's fault. Like, if you win, you are stupid. And so people then realize that it is a pitch perfect genre movie and not part of the pitch perfect genre, Mike. That's how I'm not saying it's pitch perfect 4.
You don't want to see Hannibal going zoom, 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 zoom,
Stop
zoom,
doing
zoom,
the cup song, Mike.
Yeah, it's just it's I think it's so shocking that there was a point where the Oscars were like, we will award a movie like this because it is much closer to the genre movies of its ilk than it is the colonial clothes movies.
But they're just so good.
And 91 was kind of a time for like dum-dum movies. And so this is the kind of movie that like feels smart without actually having all like the rigorous parts
One of the main
being
characters
smart.
is smart. 2 of the main characters are pretty smart, so this
One
movie's
thing-
smart.
One thing I want to point out is I think more people actually die in the Addams Family movie, but it all takes place off screen. And so it's somehow less horrific.
Just in the intro of the Addams Family movie, more people die
They all-
when boiling oil get
Yeah,
poured on
dude.
them.
The kids cause a car accident halfway through. That sounds
That's
major.
great.
Yeah, I
Sounds
mean,
like a big car accident.
You hear the horn. That like head fell on the horn dead.
You hear a guy just yell out, "My wife! Oh God, my wife!" It's fun.
So Addams Family had more kills than
Yes.
Silence of the Lambs and Terminator 2 combined.
Higher body count for sure.
For sure.
And it fucked more people.
Well, hopefully that helped you make your decision, gentlemen. Mike, where are we going? What's moving on? Is it number 1 seed Silence of the Lambs or number 8 seed The Addams Family?
Wait.
I can't wait,
Silence of
Mike.
the Lambs.
Oh, I see. You're doing hit character Clarice Starling from Silence of the Lambs.
Yes, this is Clarice Starling.
Yes, sir. She was a big person. She's a big girl, yes, sir. Ryan, do you agree with Mike, or are you furious instantly?
This is one of the best movies we've watched versus one of the worst movies we've watched. It's Silence of the
Ryan
Lambs.
hates Silence of the Lambs.
Or, as Mike called it earlier in a furious bout of excitement, Science of Lamb.
Science of Lamb.
Nobody's studied the science of lamb before.
Science of Lamb is moving on. When we come back, our first mootie of the evening.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening so far. And let me just tell you that everything ahead of this commercial is much better than what came before it. That's my guarantee. While I have you here, let me tell you about a website. It's called yourpopfilter.com, and it's everything you need that's related to Pop Filter. Everything Mike, everything Ryan, everything Greg, everything Cassie, everything is there at yourpopfilter.com. While you're there, go to yourpopfilter.com/Amazon. Make that your new Amazon bookmark and do your shopping from there. That way, we get a little piece of the action, and Amazon doesn't. Make sure you're also listening to everything that Pop Filter has to offer, which includes the Superhero Show, a podcast that covers every single TV show that's based on a comic book or comic book property, and Movie of the Year, where we sit down and try and figure out what is the single greatest movie of any given year. That's Superhero Show, that's Movie of the Year, and that's yourpopfilter.com. Rate, subscribe, review. Bye!
It's honestly, it's all fun and games getting to pick which movies are the best movies of any given year. But really, I think there's something extra special to giving out these awards, giving out the Moodies to the people who deserve them most. And the first one we are doing is Best Supporting Actress.
I did look at the numbers for who has been to the studio recently to pick up their awards from all of our previous seasons, and we still have them all. So please come on down. Please get the award tonight if you win.
Collecting
Ryan,
some deuced.
Am I reading all of the nominees here?
No, those are not the nominees, Greg. I have the nominees.
You have the nominees. Ryan, I'm going to throw to you. Who are our nominees?
We're going to first start with who was not nominated, Greg.
What a clean system we have here.
Mike, this. If you are a Patreon listener, you know that this is the second time she's been mentioned. Mike, Halle Berry from The Last Boy Scout was not nominated. Is that a surprise to you?
Yes and no. Yes, because she was fucking phenomenal in it, and I think really elevated the kind of role, especially for so early in her career. But no, because, I don't know, the Oscars hate women of the street, and they think strippers are hookers.
Women of the Street.
So,
yeah, I get that.
But more than that, I think Last Boy Scout was not a real bracket movie, and maybe even if we don't want to be the stuffy bow tie wearing Oscars, maybe that came into play. But I'm infuriated.
I think we will all be shocked and pissed by how few nominations The Last Boy Scout got. We should point out that despite only the 8 being eligible for Movie of the Year, all 15 of the movies we did this year are eligible for awards. So, Mike, your first nominee for Best Supporting Actress from Boys in the Hood, it's Angela Bassett.
Yeah, okay. Talking about people who elevated their role, I don't think Angela Bassett had much to do as the mom. She was the mom, right? I'm not kidding. Boys in the Hood was 3 years ago in real time.
Yeah, but she was the mom. Yeah.
But the amount of energy and passion she put into every line for her short screen time. There's so much interiority she created, and when her and Fury had that lunch together, such a fucking good scene.
Yeah, part of such an interesting relationship. That couple that like obviously didn't work, and so they're not together, but like they don't totally not work either.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to, but like the thing is too is that you can't. Sometimes it doesn't work out when you have kids when you're super super young.
Yeah.
Because watching that restaurant meeting that they have to figure out what to do about Trey, they are now adults. They are adult-ass adults, and that isn't who had that baby.
Exactly.
Imagine weird mistakes you made when you were a kid. Then you have to raise them.
Every night before I fall asleep, I do, Greg.
Stop having so much unprotected sex, Mike.
Never
Greg,
will.
You are very cool for that, though.
Yeah, no, it is
needs
awesome.
to be said.
Raw dog in these streets.
Greg, the next nominee is Jamie Lee Curtis from My Girl.
Wow. Yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis stealing the show, really, and stealing all of our hearts. Is it always believable that she is driving so hard for Dan Aykroyd while he does everything he can to save his chastity?
Is it believable that the script was written by a man?
It's believable when we see Jamie Lee Curtis do it. She is transcendent and amazing.
Is it believable when he falls in love with her like Slimer does with so many trays of hot dogs?
I also really like the way she raises little Veda Sultanfuss, or the way she interacts with her. It's just like, yeah, this girl's going to kind of give me a hard time. I get it.
Yeah. I'm an adult, and I will remember that
She's a
at
child,
every second.
yeah.
Yeah.
How many step-parents are like, you have one shot. And if you're mad at me a single time, you're done.
Fucking end you.
Like the step parents all the way back into classic fairy tales. Like,
Yeah.
that's like the biggest step parent move ever.
The next nominee, Greg, is Judy Davis from Barton Fink.
I went back and watched Judy Davis's parts because I was like, she didn't stand out a ton, and I realized it is because she's only in the movie for like 20 minutes before something very surprising happens, and the movie takes a completely different direction. But as like somebody who is broken down and beaten, but also wants people to know that she's the creative force behind a presumably great man and like can't keep that from poking out around the sides. You're just getting her story, and the performance by Judy Davis is so subtle that you don't expect she's suddenly not going to be there anymore.
Right.
And I think that
seems like it will be a two-hander.
she's building something. Yeah, exactly. She's building something, and that really helps like anchor the surprise when she ends up like dead and suddenly like what seems to be the climax for the character.
Also, what a boring role to typically to be like the eye roller to all of the idiot men around you.
Yeah.
Right.
But you want to talk about elevating a role, a thing that Mike has said 3 times in this segment alone. She should have been like a superstar. She should have 3 Oscars.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for her. I think she probably could have taken this down if the character had 20 to
Maybe
30
if she
more
had
minutes of screen
died.
time. Yeah, well, keep your head on a swivel.
Mike, your next nominee is Christina Ricci from the Addams Family.
She's like 8 when she made this movie, and
Yeah.
for a kid actor to understand what playing it low, like to play and to had deadpan and no comedic timing, and to the point that she
Deadpan.
what was the fucking story we all knew and told each
What
other?
did they call it? A live pan?
It's an alive pot, I think, is actually what the Addams Family would call it. But yeah, she owns this. She owns this entire movie. She is gunning for Raul Julia and Angelica Houston for star of the movie the whole time.
I think the story is that there was some twist where Christopher Lloyd, like the 2 Uncle Festers, were not the same person.
Right, that's
Yeah.
right.
And the whole cast disagreed. But somebody has to go tell the producers, let's send Christina Ricci in.
Oh,
She's
because
a small child.
if you sent Pugsley in, man, there would have been 2 different Uncle Festers in that movie.
Spoiler alert. Pugsley is not nominated for Best Supporting Actor. We'll get there later. Yeah.
He's better in Addams Family Values.
Everybody is, Mike. We know. Greg, the final nominee is from A Brighter Summer Day. It's Lisa Yang.
Lisa Yang. Now, she's like the girlfriend, the one.
The object of
the
everybody's
ingenue?
affection.
Yeah, kind of everybody's obsession with her keeps this universe sort of churning, and
She's the Thanos.
yeah, and she's just trying to get by and get through the day and ultimately not be caged. This is one where like I think the character's very interesting. The performances in this movie are hard to judge. Hers maybe especially because they dubbed all of her audio because she's American and she couldn't speak Mandarin well enough. And I don't know why. I just care about that. I can't stop caring about it on some level because like you don't hear her actually deliver any of those lines. But that's only one part of acting, and she fits into this very naturalistic movie extremely well where like you can tell she doesn't have any training as an actress, and that doesn't inhibit her in any way. It delivers a strong performance.
And man, watch the camera, clock the screen time. Like the director is obsessed with her, and it gets us to be, and it's because we're trying to be all these dudes that are around her. But she's so.
The director's so obsessed with her that there's a director in the
Yes,
movie.
I was
and
just gonna say
that guy
that.
gets obsessed with her. He's so excited to see her, and he's like, "Please come back! Please come back and be in our movie."
Your nominees for Best Supporting Actress are Angela Bassett from Boys in the Hood, Jamie Lee Curtis from My Girl, Judy Davis from Barton Fink, Christina Ricci from The Addams Family, and Lisa Yang from A Brighter Summer Day.
And I will now open the envelope.
Mike, who do you think it is?
No,
Should I say that?
No, shush! I'm doing that.
He ripped right through the note.
That's my pants.
Do you want to do the envelope now?
All right. And the winner is Lisa Yang, A Brighter Summer Day. Yeah. Again, maybe a little bit of a shame that we lost this episode, but you should really see this movie if you want to see one of the greatest movies ever made. And her performance and a lot of the other performances are the reason why. You forget that you're watching a movie a lot of times with them.
Hey, asshole. Watch the movie and record your own podcast. All right? We can't do it
Stop
for everything.
fucking trying to make us do it.
First
Dick
off, sorry to
cheese.
insult you. Second of all, please don't start your own podcast.
Yeah, no.
No, there's
When-
too many.
We will send you $5 if you don't do it.
We'll pay you $5 a month. We'll kick that Patreon right back out the door just to stop competing podcasts. When we come back, we get to our next matchup. Our next matchup is number 4 seed Thelma and Louise, which beat L.A. Story, La Belle Nuit, and Paris is Burning. That's a lot of impressive victories. Versus number 12, Boys in the Hood, which beat Hudson Hawk. Wah, wah. Poor Hudson Hawk. Born to Lose. My Girl, and My Own Private Idaho.
Hey, Hudson Hawk, you made the top 64. You should send us a thank you note.
Be happy.
So this is one of the biggest movies of the year. Well, 2 of the biggest movies of the year, but one of them had to take down like some of the stiffest competition in 91, and the other one basically waltzed to this matchup, and yet still they're 2 of the greatest movies of
Now-
91.
And also
Greg,
kicked off two trends. We got girl boss violence and like inner city drama just coming out of our ears after these 2 hits.
Okay, good. That helped me. I was going to say, now, Greg, I got so distracted by the list of movies you gave that I forgot what was actually fighting, but Ryan's description of trends really helped me pin it down that we are doing Hook and Terminator 2.
So definitely 2 of the biggest movies, as Ryan said, had some of the biggest impact. But putting that aside, because it sort of cancels it out, which was the better viewing experience that you were more excited about, Mike?
I similar personal histories with both these movies. Had not seen them, but had seen the Simpsons version of all of them. Right, like these. Maybe it's just 1991 was a time period where like all these movies you just know from culture, even if you haven't seen them.
I was a big reader of Mad Magazine. So especially with R-rated movies, I would like closely study the Mad Magazine send-ups, and I would be like, "What do you think really happens in this movie?"
You know how
Alfred E. Newman gonna score this one?
when we do every season, we do like mixtape and I don't know what we do, box office battles or whatever. Those, like, should we do Simpsons versions of all of the movies and review those as well?
Yes,
Because you know they're out there,
we
right?
should.
There's 766 episodes.
I mean, when we did Terminator 2, we talked about like pop culture, like what was our favorite pop culture references, and I watched
all
like
from
an
The Simpsons.
8-minute clip of The Simpsons of just all the different times they have 3 or 4 episodes that the episodes themselves are just references to Terminator 2, and then within other episodes there are multiple references
Circling back then to the movies we're
to
actually talking
Terminator
about.
2.
To Terminator 2. This sucks. This all sucks. This always sucks happening. But Thelma and Louise. I think if you're saying what is the better viewing experience, I was fucking floored by like any road trip comedy. You're like, all right, how much could a road trip comedy actually be great? And it just one of the greatest adult movie viewing experiences of my life.
I think that a lot of times when it's this close, and this iconic, and so many powerful moments between the 2. For me, so much of it comes down to this was one of John Singleton's first movies, if not his very first movie.
Mm-hmm.
And Thelma and Louise, for some reason, got Ridley Scott, who is already an established master.
Yeah.
And you can feel that the whole time. I love Boys in the Hood. I couldn't believe how, like, watching it for this season, realizing how many times I had seen it in my past, but it can get a little sloppy. And Thelma and Louise is just fucking stitch perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. First of all, I have to agree with the Boys in the Hood that it's a little sloppy. It's also a little obvious sometimes.
It gets some cheesy on it.
I think the biggest strike against it is that you forget how long in Boys in the Hood they're kids.
Mm-hmm.
But, dude, they're kids for a lot of the movie, and the movie is clunky in that time, including just like it's not just the child actors, but just its general presentation is clunky. Thelma and Louise has clunky scenes, but it delivers so many moods that I was not expecting as somebody who had not seen it before, but had sort of like gleaned what it was like from the zeitgeist. It's so dreamy and so weird near the end, and there are a couple scenes I would lop out. But seriously, what it's going against is a movie that has like 45 minutes of kind of dull material that finally gets you to what you think of as the movie.
But, I mean, so yeah, I think that's the case for both movies. But when you're done with the movie, you look back and you were like, I enjoyed the dull parts. I just didn't understand. This is for me, not for you, Greg. Don't.
You're not saying my thought
No,
process.
don't try and take my thoughts because these are my
say
thoughts.
each other's.
But when you're done with it, you're like, I enjoyed the 45 minutes or the the moment, and would not feel the way that I do about these characters if it wasn't for all of that bonding time. Boys in the Hood has the same thing. I think that what we have is a master director in the making, or a great director in the making, with a pretty good script that sometimes goes between, damn, this is great, and damn, this is Hallmark Channel. And then we have a already established master director with, and this is a first-time screenwriter, Callie Corey, with the script is where it all is, I think. We talked about this on the show, but like how much information we're being delivered in what seems like a let's go buy popcorn on a Friday night rom-com is so impressive to me.
Yeah, they put so much power into single lines. And, I mean, if we're just doing pound for pound, cast v cast, Thelma and Louise has it.
And also, Thelma and Louise only had 10 minutes of Little Thelma and Little Louise on the playground. Being like, we're going to drive a car off a cliff one day.
I think, if anything, too, Thelma and Louise,
Two Thelma, two Louise?
A little too Thelma and maybe a little bit too Louise. I think that movie is actually more optimistic about men than it would be if it came out now. And I think that's part of there's a lot of parts that a lot of things that Louise says that I don't quite understand in the movie. Susan Sarandon keeps saying like, hey, when you're like forcing a woman to have sex with you, she's not enjoying it, just so you know. And I finally realized why she keeps saying that. It's because she doesn't understand that men are actually as awful as they are. And she thinks if I could just explain to them, hey, we don't like it when you treat us this way, that men would be like, oh my God, really?
Holy shit.
I'm so sorry.
I never thought of that.
But that is her honest belief. But the truth is, the men know, they just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And
they've never cared or thought about it before.
The fact that the world is darker than her vision of it is just so powerfully upsetting.
What I thought you were going to say is that Thelma and Louise is more optimistic towards men than Boys in the Hood is. And we have Furious Styles in the center of it, trying so hard to like be this pillar, be this like lead by example, and also preach all at the same time. Like he is a pastor of this movie, right? Like there's a point where he takes his son and his friend to a billboard or to like a housing unit, and then all of a sudden the camera turns around and there's like 60 people just watching.
Yeah, there's a community because his preaching is so powerful. They just stop running errands or whatever they're doing with their day.
But like I think part of the point of the movie is that Ice Cube dreams of being furious or dreams of being Trey, but is pulled down by these other people who don't even think about being Trey or being furious, you know, and how men are a much scarier place than Boys in the Hood. Well, I don't want to say that, but men are bad all around.
I definitely see what you're saying. Some of like the monologues by Ice Cube about like the valuelessness of women. I mean, that's very explicitly like.
That's how every male character in Thelma and Louise is, except for Brad Pitt and Harvey Keitel, and even they're bad.
Brad Pitt is just a clean criminal. Like, I meant everything I said. I just got to take your money because it's right fucking there. Harvey Keitel, however.
He's a patronizing,
he seems
condescending.
Good, but again, when it's raining out, he tries to like play grab ass with one of his coworkers, and I will never get over that.
All right, well, what is it going to be? That are you saying that when they all like race each other up to that door? Yeah.
Children, you are FBI agents or whatever. Could we act like it?
Mike, is it number 4 Thelma and Louise or number 12 Boys in the Hood?
I'm gonna have to give it to Thelma and Louise.
Ryan, do you agree?
I do, yeah.
All right, Thelma and Louise, moving on. When we come back, we'll talk about Best Supporting Actor. Well, that is very, very funny. Or very sad, and perhaps now you have something to think about. Or very problematic, and perhaps we have something to think about. But in any event, I'm sure you have some reaction to what you're listening to. So why not check us out on the social media? You can go to Instagram or Twitter and find us at YourPopFilter. Email contacts@YourPopFilter. Hey, everybody. Keep watching them movies. Ryan, I'm going to turn this over to you. I realize I have the envelope, but you have all the best actor nominees. And so I'm going to turn it over to you. I'm going to let you tear the envelope, even though I really enjoyed that last time.
It's the checks and balances at the Pop Filter
Yeah.
Studio.
Yeah, dude. We don't want to get crazy with power. Greg, you know who was not nominated?
I'm going to say not nominated was Damon Wayans.
That is true.
All right, I got it.
But it was a rhetorical question. Chang Kuo-cho, the father from A Brighter Summer Day, was not nominated for this award.
That's rough. That's rough for him. I thought, did a great job. They made him sit on a big block of ice for part of it.
Greg, your first nominee is the aforementioned Furious
Damon Wayans.
Styles
Sorry.
from Boys in the Hood, Lawrence Fishburne.
Yeah, I guess when I think of Lawrence Fishburne, I think, of course, of Morpheus. And that's a very interesting character, and I can talk about Morpheus for a long time, but we already did that in the 99 show when we talked about The Matrix. But this is like a legit amazing performance, and he becomes somebody in this. And Furious Styles is the most interesting part of this entire movie.
Yeah, if you're a kid, which we all are, well, I call us all kids, of our age or younger, you really don't remember him being just a powerhouse of an actor.
Not to shit on him in his big moment, because this is probably the best moment of his career. He's gone a little Al Pacino. He's a little like, whooah! We forgot how subtle and amazing and powerful he can be.
Yeah.
But he's given
We
all
forgot
of
because
us.
he forgot.
Mike, the next nominee was Robert Patrick from Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Wow.
I didn't expect this. One of the
No
moments
one, no one predicted this, right?
Well, that he would be nominated, but also that one of the things I cannot stop talking about is the nuances of the T-1000 performance.
Yeah.
The amount of like work trips and meetings I've been on, and for whatever reason, I decide I could definitely pretend that this is Jermaine to talk about how he learned how to run without breathing through his mouth, and that he outrun Eddie Furlong's moped. Like he did a lot of hard work and dedication without being a dick to become the T-1000 in real life.
And honestly, within like the first scene that this is a bad robot. Like
Yeah.
he does such a good job seeming crazy even before he starts knifing people in
Right.
the face. And I think you need to give a little respect. When I was turning in my ballot, I found I moved him down, and then when I got a lot other things set up, I was like kind of nudging him back up, because he did do a good job.
I know we normally don't do this. So he was my number one with shining silver stabby bullet hand.
Okay, well now we know why.
that second part doesn't mean anything. Just so everybody knows. You can't vote with a shining, stabbing bullet hand and think that means anything.
They never stopped me at the polls.
Greg, your next nominee is Pop Filter Hall of Famer John Goodman.
Oh wow, yeah. I rewatched some Barton Fink scenes preparing for this show, and the amount of times John Goodman goes, "Well, I could tell you some story."
Oh fuck, it's so good.
And his whole switch from like, shucks, to just like the face of the devil and
The devil.
agent of the apocalypse. It gives you the full range of John Goodman, which is he's always so huggable and
Yeah.
loving and wonderful. But it starts with Dan Connor, but it's in all his other performances. It's just like, oh, there's violence in here. And then you're like, oh, he's a big dude. Like, you don't want this guy to be upset with you because he's huge. And he gives you, I think everything he has is in this movie. I think everything he has as a performance shows up in Barton Fink.
Yeah, everything from Sully from Monsters Inc. to the dude from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
It's a
He
lot
does
of
it
the
all.
dude from 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Oh,
where
yeah.
like, at first you're just like, oh, here's a weirdo. And then by the end of it, you're like, oh, no, he's not just a weirdo. He's a violent idiot.
I remember when I saw that movie, I was just like, wow, I didn't know John Goodman could do that. That's so scary. And watching this, I'm like, oh, they were just like, hey, remember him in Barton Fink? Let's make him do that again.
But can we all agree that no character of his is as scary as John Connor when John Connor's upset?
From
Terminator?
From Roseanne. Not John Connor. Dan
Connor.
I want to see John
yeah.
Goodman's John Connor.
But Dan Connor, when he's upset, is the scariest character.
Because dads are the scariest character in our lives.
He pushed David around a bunch because David was fucking his daughter. And then at one point, do you remember when Fisher beat up Roseanne's sister? And
Oh,
then
God.
he just left to kick the shit out of him.
I'm going to go kill Fisher. Bye, everybody.
Quip, boom.
Mike, the next nominee is Wong Chi-zan from A Brighter Summer Day. He played Cat.
Of course he played Cat. You don't have to tell me. I'm in love with this little kid and his talent. He's amazing. He's the heart and soul of this fucking movie, and his earnestness, and all he wants to do is sing, but there's gangs all around him.
I love people are complex, and he's like, "Look, man, I want to record a record, but I have these knives. I'll use whatever I need to get out of this fucking village."
Yeah,
I'm a
and
cat.
like watching him work, watching him talk to people, they always are like, okay, Cat's a little clever, so I'm gonna watch out for him. And still, he breaks people down and gets them to do what they want, and
I do
sings like
think-
an absolute angel.
Because the age range is all over here, he does look like an 8-year-old, but he's probably like they all are 15-year-olds. So I do think all of them treat him like, it's just that little kid, and so he just runs the room.
And use it to your advantage for sure. Don't be ashamed that you're short.
He's not.
Tall people are stupid.
He does look so little, though.
Yeah.
Wait, Greg, do we have one more nominee?
Who could it be?
Do we have one more? Now, much like the Oscars, Anthony Hopkins is not nominated for Best Supporting Actor. I don't know if that was kosher, but Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs is, Greg.
Certainly an enduring performance. We see him mostly as like the killer version of himself. And then we also get little snippets of him as the like obviously kind of like loner. And I there's a lot of room in there. And then as like the vicious part of him.
I think Patrick Swayze from Point Break and Ted Levine from Silence of the Lambs are just same character, two different paths.
Oh shit!
Just the surfer kind of long haired guy who I also commit crimes.
Imagine a Thelma and Louise style movie just with these two long haired dudes driving across the country.
Okay, Mike, you keep pitching the 1991 Avengers, and I'm so into it.
But like if you only judge a performance by its effect on you, then I definitely think he could walk away with it.
He is like deceptively tall and like knows how to like and maybe it's the camera work and the director, but I feel like he knows how to control the different rooms he's in. Yeah, he's a creep, and I wish Ted Levine was in more things. The only things I know off the top of my head are this and Fast and the Furious.
There are moments, maybe I'm a little silly for saying this, but there are moments I felt like watching it this where you almost pitied him. And I had never felt that before, but Ted Levine is the one that's putting that in there. You know, I've always found the character obviously so Buffalo Bill so intimidating and awful and everything, but this is the first time watching it that I was like, he's pitiable too, because he is a prisoner of this weird compulsion he has. He feels bad when he's like, put the lotion in the thing. He doesn't want to look at her because they're not just cattle to him. He does recognize that these women are like folks.
This movie does something no slasher or other like normal human grounded horror movie does, where there's a human and empathy within the killer in a subtle and amazing way.
And you don't like it as a viewer. Like, you're not actually looking for that. Yeah, you're not looking to align yourself with this
I just want to hate
dude.
him, thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot easier that way.
There's a point where he asked a future victim to help him put a couch in a truck, and there's a moment where he's like, oh, this could have been one of my friends, but no, I'm just going to kill her.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, the very way he entraps people is to get them to do him a favor. That's got to feel bad.
Excuse me. Your nominees are Lawrence Fishburne from Boys in the Hood, John Goodman from Barton Fink, Ted Levine from The Silence of the Lambs, Robert Patrick from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, and Wong Chi-zon, A Brighter Summer Day. A stronger crop of nominees we may have never had before, Greg.
Yeah, I'm going to be disappointed no matter who wins, and that's a good feeling, Ryan.
That's award season, baby.
Who's it going to be?
Oh, okay. I was going to let you tear the envelope, but you know what? You lost your opportunity, bud. Jump in there and do it.
We have to checks and balances.
Are there checks in one of these?
Yeah. Don't rip it.
This check is void. It's been ripped. All right. Opening up. It's John Goodman, Barton Fink. Congrats.
Maybe the other four will become Pop Filter Hall of Famers someday, but
yeah, good luck.
I mean, that's a you don't even have to do politicking. That's a early and easy leg up for you.
yeah.
Well, congratulations to you, John Goodman. As long as you're not angry, come on down and get the award anytime you want, big guy. And when we come back, our next matchup. We are back with our next matchup. It's number 2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day versus number 10, Barton Fink. Terminator 2 beat Frankie and Johnny, What About Bob, and JFK. Barton Fink beat Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, Slacker, and Robin Hood. So I'm going to say this is the first real trial for either one of these movies.
Yeah, they both had interesting journeys.
Yeah.
Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead should have been in the top 8.
And What About Bob? Should not have been.
What About Bob? either one of these movies would have like knocked off amazing competition on its way here, and instead they both just waltzed
Yeah,
to this matchup.
This is what makes people think our system is rigged. But sorry, randomness is random sometimes, listeners.
Well, when it
Yeah.
comes to, I mean, like they say about God, when it comes to the movies of 1991, God does not give with 64 hands. He has
Though
what
he has them.
Yeah.
But
he,
63 of them are in his pockets.
and his
'cause he's
pockets
cool.
are his butts.
But number 2, Terminator 2 Judgment Day versus number 10, Barton Fink. This, I think, gives us a chance to explore, like, what do we mean by movie of the year? What's the bigger movie of the year? Obviously, Terminator 2. What's like
Financially, culturally, historically. But let's talk about Barton Fink.
But let's say a couple things about Barton Fink. Arguably a better movie that sets a higher bar and maybe achieves it.
I think that Barton Fink is definitely a better movie. I think that Barton Fink is an achievement in many of the things in movies that I'm looking for. To call it a better achievement in the history of film is hard because of all the CGI that was used in Terminator, but also isn't that the same thing as calling the jazz singer a achievement in film?
And is that really what you're going to say, Ryan?
I think
that
the Terminator
you love
2
the
is the jazz singer.
You're going to be the jazz singer
Ryan's
guy?
very pro-robot, so he doesn't like Terminator 2.
But man, Terminator 2's like so exciting, and it's not a bad movie. It's not a slouch.
No, it's another I'll take your genre and fucking own it. And I would say in both of them, like looking back in the hindsight, watching them, there are moments in both that you're like, oh, that was kind of lame. Like it's not like one is filled with it and one is not. Like Barton Fink, the end is, I think, falls a little flat, and Terminator 2. Anytime they're like, let's show the post-apocalyptic future, is like, you cheese dicks. You don't need to do that at all.
Okay, I disagree with both. I mean, I agree that both of them, neither one is perfect, but I disagree with both of those things.
Yeah, I know you do.
And I think I'm all the way to I disagree with you, Ryan, and both the movies are perfect.
So how about everyone go fuck themselves?
So we'll both move on.
I have to say, one thing I'm personally going to be unmoved by is the technical achievement or what. I understand why it's important. For me, though, it's not going to go into movie of the year because this year, 1991, proved to me that computers were a mistake. Like it's like
Skynet.
because right, okay, but also
Another net that people keep getting grasped into.
yet another net. Good job, man, Ryan. I owe you a point. Remind me of that. But like. Now, when CGI is used in movies, it's usually one of the worst things that's happening on the screen at that moment. And so I'm unmoved by like the fact that this helped usher in the end of what was like the greatest era of practical effects of all time. See the movie Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2.
I was watching the latest episode of Moon Knight on my iPad, and I was like, wait, did that look cool? Hold on. And so I watched it in like a better light on a better screen. I was like, no, it did not. It did not look cool.
It looked totally fake.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically come all the way around now, and every movie to me looks like Wizard of Oz. Like, every movie to me looks like somebody standing in a small room where they painted most of what's going on, and then you just have to, like, not focus on those parts of it. You just focus on the characters who are also made of, like, this weird gloss.
Just Nickelodeon gack with eyes.
I feel like every year, much like we have a spot for like the super artsy movie that we had never heard of before, this year being Brighter Summer Day, we also have this spot for like the undeniably popular blockbuster. So I'm thinking of The Matrix, although in 99 Phantom Menace did not make the top 8, believe it or not. I'm thinking of Lord of the Rings, what's the first one called? The
Fellowship of the Ring.
You got it, Greg.
Greg.
A movie that I was not excited about, but I think all three of us were like, dude, that's
good.
That's
man.
pretty
Yeah.
fucking
It's a
good.
good time in the movies.
And Terminator 2 did that same thing of just like, I mean, we want these artsy fartsy movies, but these movies are, for lack of a better word, undeniable. It's hard to argue. But the problem is with me is that that Barton Fink is so that you can still see the paint by numbers with James Cameron, somebody who I drafted onto my director team. I love it, but like it's still there in such a way where the Coen brothers never, ever have that. Even their failures are more interesting. I mean, Terminator 2 is, let's be real, a remake. You know? It came from that era of, like, Terminator 2, Evil Dead 2, Desperado, where filmmakers were just remaking their low-budget movies with a bigger budget.
Right.
And that's not how Barton Fink feels to me at all. It doesn't feel like Barton Fink is a remake of The Terminator.
No, yeah, I mean, John Goodman is a Terminator.
Yeah, dude, kind of. When he's coming down that fire hallway.
But yeah, I mean, the Coens in general, why they're some of the greatest directors ever, is every movie feels like they're like, we're going to try a new thing. Like, they don't redo. I would love to watch them redo The Lady Killers.
Also,
or True Grit is also a remake.
Yeah.
But they're not redoing themselves, I mean.
Right.
Since the thrust of this podcast is talking about movies, sometimes when we watch the movies we really like, we kind of see their like film crimes a little bit. And I have to say, one that really stood out in Terminator 2 is there's just 2 instances that we talked about on the show of like out of nowhere voiceover.
Yeah.
Like literally just out of nowhere, she just suddenly starts addressing the audience. And it's to say things that the shot is also saying.
Yeah.
Like one of them is
as
just
we drove down this dark road, I realized things were dark. Like,
one of them is the Terminator standing without moving by a window as like it goes from night to day back to night again, or the opposite of that. And she's like, he would never move or leave because he would just stand there even if a lot of time passed by and he would look out that way. And it's like, no, we got that. We're watching that happen right now. And I think that's where we're at in the process, right? Is we're kind of finding the cracks in the armor.
And I think that's what makes James Cameron is like, that's why he's so famous and beloved and hated, is that there's so many people who love him because thank you for holding my hand throughout all of this. And there's so many people who would love him even more, that if he just didn't do that.
But one thing I always like to say in a moment like this, because this feels like for both of these movies, maybe the stiffest competition they potentially will face in the bracket. Imagine you are saying to somebody, 1991's movie of the year, Barton Fink, and then they say back to you, I don't know what that is. Does that hurt in any way? Does that mean we did a bad job?
No, because then just all you and your friends hop in the back of a pickup truck.
Barton Fink! Barton Fink!
The chant writes itself.
Because that is giving me a little bit of pause. Like,
not for Barton Fink. There are other movies we may talk about that might be the case that we're going to have to address. But for Barton Fink, I think it has become such a big deal.
It's grown, right? Like maybe it wasn't big in 91, but it has since grown.
Yeah, and it also feels like, because we don't want to be the up your butt, oh, you haven't watched Mirror kind of podcast, but we also, we're kind of that perfect middle, and I don't
necessarily not want to be up anybody's butt, just putting that out there.
But in a rude way.
Never in a rude way.
But I think listeners of our show will have heard of Barton Fink.
Certainly because of the drop pad, I think listeners of the show will have heard of it quite a bit.
If you are a regular listener and this is the first you're hearing anything,
what is this? Barton Fink.
Stop multitasking.
Well, talk about stop. Talk about running out of road. It's time to pick one of these 2 movies to move on, but conversely, also one of them will be Dunsky forever.
Why is this a zero-sum game? Both move on.
Both move on.
You know that's not how it works, Ryan. You designed the entire show.
Movies of the year.
All right, so Ryan, I'm going to throw to you first because I know that's what you want. Is it number 2, Terminator 2, Judgment Day, or number 10, Barton Fink?
Number 10. I have to, I love Terminator 2, but I just don't think that it has the impact. You know, I think that everybody watching Terminator 2 likes it. They think it's awesome. But, I think Barton Fink is one of those movies that changes you.
Yeah, right? Like, you watch Terminator 2 and you're like, that was a great movie. You finish up Barton Fink and you're like, I think I have a different perspective on things.
Right.
Mike, what do you say?
I agree. I think Barton Fink is phenomenal, and it'll make you rethink. And John Turturro, one of my favorite actors. Fucking love him.
Dude.
But if we're talking a big part that we actually haven't mentioned, and normally at this point we've mentioned 30 times of what makes the movie of the year is 1991, and Eddie Furlong is just a non-cartoon 1991 Bart Simpson. It's so
if Terminator 2 wins because of
arcade.
Eddie Furlong, I'm gonna freak out.
It's I think it's dope as hell. I've already talked about how much I love fucking Robert Patrick, and I think it's 1991 as hell. So Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
I was hoping it wouldn't come to this so that I could always have plausible deniability that I was not the person who literally made us vote out Terminator 2 Judgment Day. But there are so many levels on which I am more excited by the movie Barton Fink really as like an adult now. Again,
Holy shit.
That is
insane.
that is unbelievable. That's
in 1991, Terminator 2 changed my life as a young man. In 2021, probably, when we watched it.
It was early pandemic.
Barton Fink definitely changed my life as an adult, and I'm all about adult Greg. So Barton Fink is moving on.
Barton Fink.
There is now a
Barton Fink.
clear path for it to potentially be movie of the year. Terminator 2, by my hand,
I love it.
moved
That's a hero's
out
journey.
of the bracket. When we come back, we're going to get to the best sex you've ever heard. Now, the listeners at home, the longtime listeners will know this, but we have each of us done sex, and two of us are actually pretty good at it.
You decide.
You decide which two it is, but you know I'm one of them, right? And then probably Mike is the other one. Ryan.
Unbelievable.
Ouch.
No, we all do good sex. I mean, you have a kid, Ryan, so you must be doing something.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
Okay.
scientifically, you're the only one who's doing it right.
Yeah,
and
made another
biblically.
human.
Just because an offensive lineman grabs a fumble and falls in the end zone does not make him good at football.
Well, with that delicious image, Ryan, what's some of the best sex? Now, hopefully we got good sex this time. We never have good sex.
No,
we
did
never
not,
have
right?
good sex,
Yeah.
despite Greg's preamble.
I think there was like one time where there was actually a hot scene that we ever got to talk about. Thank you, American cinema.
I love about this category is it could be from like they curl their pinkies around each other to Joe Schmo tries to pin down a teenager. Like it's always like, I don't like any of this.
Some of this is problematic.
This is one of the only awards in Hollywood where both words in the award, best and sex, do not mean anything and could be the opposite. So,
Yes.
You know, I
Best
realized
use of
recently
sex.
I'm becoming an old man, and I'm real sorry about it. But I'm less into like sex scenes in movies and shows now.
Yeah.
Now every time there's a sex scene, I'm just like, was everybody taking care of everybody
Yeah.
on this?
Who was
there,
on set? Was there a consultant
There
on
was.
set?
I'm watching that show Tokyo Vice, and there's a scene where
Well, first of all, Ansel Elgort is in it.
there you go. Oh, right, he's a bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's even worse. Then I feel even worse about it. But yeah, it's just like, so now I'm at the point where I'm like, couldn't they just leave that out? Oh, I've gotten old. I've
Well,
gotten
that
very,
is-
very old.
That is, I like that you're redefining what it means to be an old man when it comes to sex scenes, Greg. Because that I do not think is generations above us. How the
they can't do it right. They can't do it in a way that doesn't harm people, so then they shouldn't do it.
And why does the director have to be Michael Mann? Where is Michael Woman? Why can't he direct some episodes? All right.
Why not?
Greg, your first nominee, and this is a weird one. Literally everything Morticia and Gomez say to each
No,
other.
okay. This I hope this wins because there is just so much electricity, and we're three married dudes. I have to say, like, being married is not the way 90s television portrayed it. It's the way 1991's Addams Family portrayed it.
Academia.
Yeah, you are just smoldering for your spouse all the time, and it's fun. This is like so clean, so healthy. The only part of the Addams Family that I think really like
Crushes it.
yeah, is how hot they are for each other, and they found two perfect actors to portray that.
There's a scene in the movie This Is 40 where Paul Rudd's like brushing his teeth and he's like, "Do you want to have sex tonight?" And Leslie Mann's like, "Ugh." That's
And doesn't she say I'm kind of constipated?
Yeah.
And he's like, and she's like, well, do you want to? And he's like, well, now.
That is also pretty accurate.
That's a great.
it just vacillates between those two.
That's a great read. Well, now.
Mike, this is a weird one. Sexy, I guess. Realistic, the way that high school works, children work. We're bringing up children in the best sex category. And the way that plots work. It's two people kiss by flashlight in the movie A Brighter Summer Day.
I mean, it's very dark. There's only a flashlight. Danger.
It kind of is like the precipitating event for a lot of really terrible things that happen.
And
This
that's
is it,
sexy.
dude.
Yeah, I mean, one for its best use of sex in cinema, I think this crushes it because it causes the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
But also thinking about if something is sexy, if you're at this age, being where you're supposed to be good and being bad and being there when you shouldn't be, and it's just you and the person you're horned for. All of that is also sexy. I don't know if the movie captures that, but that's definitely like that's there. And again,
The scene is like a flashlight going over them for 1 second.
Oh, if this is the first time watching it, and I assume for most people it is, you don't realize that what you just saw is the catalyst for almost everything.
4
The very
hours
center.
of stuff happens because of this.
I love how you guys are doing this so far, because based on this Addams Family and Brighter Summer Day nominee, you both have said, if this doesn't win, fuck you. That's just, you guys have to defend the nominees. You have to talk about Greg.
Yes.
Gaston rips his shirt,
Okay.
revealing his hairy chest.
Okay. Now, I am an almost entirely straight man, but this scene.
Oh, from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, from Beauty and the Beast, of course. This scene has taken on like a second life. And I think that I am responding to its second life, which is a lot of people discovered things about themselves at like this exact moment. And
something happened in my nethers.
Yeah, right? So a lot of people found out that they were straight or that they were gay at this exact moment. And I just think that's so beautiful. And Gaston obviously sucks. But the other thing is he's got a hairy chest, which like men being completely shorn, I don't do it, and so maybe I don't like it. Let's get a little hair up there, you know?
Yeah.
Gaston's a man.
Very
He's
Tom
just a grown
Selleck
adult
pop.
man. Yes, Tom Selleck, dude.
This should be a thing, like Colin Firth first appearing in the TV adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, or Cameron Diaz wiping the rain off in The Mask.
Mm-hmm.
There are these like movie moments where you're like, well, I know what I like for the rest of my life.
Yeah. Rain.
Rainy Colin Firth.
Mike, the next nominee is bar patrons see nude Arnold Schwarzenegger and get straight horny in the film Terminator 2.
Hell yeah, they do, man. If Arnold at this time period, really any time period, walks into a bar naked, you're going to get straight horn. And this bar accurately does it. He's scary. His face looks like a murderer. He's moving like a murderer, and everybody's still just looking at that robot Wang.
The Terminator franchise does almost nothing to explain time travel. It sets almost no rules for time travel. But there's one rule, my friends. You have to go through that thing fucking naked, okay?
Does
you could
time
be a
travel-
human, you could be a robot. You're going through naked, and we're gonna peep those buns.
You will be
Like,
naked. Something will get destroyed.
Even Lady Terminator from the third one, we peeped those buns, okay? If you're going through the thing, we're gonna look at your butt a little bit.
I love watching the moments where on this podcast, one of us is talking and the other two have a finger up waiting to talk because we're so excited about the current topic. Now, do we know that does time travel kill the clothes, destroy them, or if you even fucking
You'll
deign
die.
to wear clothes, you will get choked to death by clothes and die?
That's a really good question. If like someone's like, you know what, I know what everybody says, but I'm gonna try to wear my turtleneck through this thing.
What I posit is maybe the scientists are pervs. So I'm going in
naked
denim.
in there. Get naked.
Let me see the
Three
bones.
3 or 4 women in this scene turn into Tex Avery cartoons, just hooting and hollering, looking at
But,
Arnold's Wang.
If you can send a whole robot, which is like flesh with metal on the inside, you can't also send like a duffel bag.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, make the duffel bag out of flesh if you need to, but like you can't find, because what this means
Did you go
is
Ted Levine right there, Mike?
first-
Oh, wait. I can do that.
the first thing every Terminator has to do is find some humans to kill to steal their clothes.
Yeah.
That's like very high profile.
As we talked about, it dictates their personality. He went to a biker bar. The bad guy got a cop uniform. Oh, my God, the irony here. It's
Yeah.
making this movie. Not good enough to make it to the final round, of course.
Okay.
Salt
Keep
in the
everybody in
wound.
order.
Greg, the final nominee is Thelma getting absolutely railed by a man named Brad Pitt.
Now, perhaps some people would say, but doesn't he rip her off afterwards? But you have to understand, Brad Pitt is in this movie, he's like the pure cowboy. He's like a kind of spirit. He's kind of like an essence. His having sex with her is not in any way meaningful way related to his stealing from her. They are just enjoying each other's bodies. They're just going at it. And this is the first, last, and only time she experiences sexual
Orgasm?
pleasure. And if she doesn't get that, she's never going to get it in her entire life.
She's never going to rob that 7-Eleven. Also, based on her hair the next morning, if she knew ahead of time he was going to steal her money, I think she would have said, that's
she would have
cool.
paid
Honestly,
him.
ladies, let's get frank. Anyone who's into men, if you know that Brad Pitt's going to rob you, but he's going to rail you first, it's okay to let him rob you.
We're
isn't-
liberally covering our bases so hard. This is a hot scene.
This isn't
Yeah.
super cut 59-year-old handsome as hell Brad Pitt. This is fucking 21-year-old golden god Brad Pitt.
Honestly,
He's never
I
looked
still
bad.
think old Brad Pitt is hotter. He's like more of a man. I
Yes.
think, but that's not who they had to have sex with in this. Okay, all they had was Brad Pitt. But yeah,
They
this
were
is like a legit.
Can we get old Brad Pitt? And he's like, look, I'm sorry, but I'm young right now.
He won't take off his clothes. He won't. Therefore, he can't travel through time.
I hope that one wins though, because that's a legit. That's sex.
It's
and
hot.
it's good. Yeah, and it's hot.
All right, your nominees are Addams Family, Beauty and the Beast. Good job, Disney. A Brighter Summer Day, Terminator 2, and Thelma and Louise.
Is it a
Greg?
great time to talk about how Gaston's chest let a lot of people know they were
Yeah.
gay? Maybe this is not the climate for that. It's okay. I'm a teacher. Nobody cares what I say. All right. And the winner for Best Sex is every single thing Gomez and Morticia say to each other. That's a good winner. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That's a
You know
good
what?
one.
If we were recording this 10 years ago and we were all singletons about the town, something else would have won. But
Yeah.
that marriage that we have, we're all Gomez's and Morticia's,
Just
right?
a sex positive marriage.
Yeah.
Monogamy's hot if you and
Yeah.
your spouse are hot.
I can never get a little spotlight out of my eyes. I'm definitely the Morticia of my.
Is it the 1950s movie in here? Get it out of here.
Well, congratulations to Gomez and Morticia. Feel free to come on down. Just chat it out.
Does it feel like we should have cake? Like at a certain point during this big finale, shouldn't we all be eating a piece of cake?
Just one big piece of cake for all of us?
Yeah.
Well, if there was any category that was absolutely caked up, it was that last one. When we come back, our final matchup of this first round. Our last matchup of this round is number 3 seeded Beauty and the Beast versus number 11 and second entry into our lost episode catalog, A Brighter Summer Day. Beauty and the Beast beat Angel at My Table, The Naked Gun 2.5, and Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. And A Brighter Summer Day, it was lost to time.
Oh, I wonder what it beat.
We don't know what
We'll
it
never
beat.
We don't
know.
even know what it beat. That's
we don't
how bad
know.
those technical
We don't know what we
issues
thought
were.
about it. Fans, can I just tell you how much we loved Brighter Summer Day? Like, it would have been okay, I think, to lose the Addams Family episode. I think it would have been okay. Well, there's not another episode. I think that it would have been okay
No,
to
I think we
lose.
could have lost the Terminator 2 episode because of the amount that we talked about Terminator 2 throughout the
every
season.
Every other
single- yeah.
We could have put together an episode.
I may have been responsible for that. I may have had a hand in that.
In the history of movie of the year, I don't think there's a worse episode to have lost.
Okay, because in part, because this is 1991, one of Beauty and the Beast is not just one of 1991's biggest movies. It's like one of the biggest movies of all time. It changed the game.
Nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah,
first
for an
first
animated movie, right?
CGI 2, along with T2. Remember when the camera swoops in
And
on their big dance?
Again,
big dance for it,
a
yeah.
really modest but very effective application of CGI. And when that happened, when moving through the ballroom happened in the way that does in that movie, you felt like you were seeing something new and different,
Yes.
and that the future, you are in part of the future.
And
You're in the antechamber of the future at that moment.
It's so fun to have them make it quote unquote live action 25 years later and have it look so flat and fucking stupid comparatively.
Seriously, I still can't believe they made that movie, and then I can't believe we all went to see it. And then we came out, we were disappointed, and it was like, well, what do we expect?
Even if we were to say it doesn't hold a candle to
Oh,
Brighter Summer Day, it has Lumiere.
Damn. But when I think of A Brighter Summer Day, there are maybe 3 movies that I would never have watched if not for being on this show. Even if you said, Greg, I promise you these are the best movies you're ever going to see.
Oh, fuck you. If it wasn't for the show
Yeah.
and somebody recommended this movie to me, I would say fuck you to their face.
Yeah. But this is a profound experience. And I thought about it constantly after watching it. I watched it twice, even though that's the same as watching 4 movies.
Yeah, that's crazy. You caught out of sick 3 days of work so you could watch it twice.
And I'm changed having seen it. It showed me the world in a different way, and it showed me movies in a different way, what they could be and what they could include. And it left me unsatisfied in so many ways that were intentional so that I would not stop thinking about it and not stop pursuing it.
Because he's like movies, they can't do everything. But then secretly he's like, but they can.
Unless they
I
can.
wanted you to feel all these things.
You leave these really good movies. Like, so Come and See would be another one of these.
It's Mirror, Come and See, Brighter Summer Day. There's
on,
this
Mirror.
other class of film we watch almost, hopefully, at least once a season. And I think it's not a coincidence they are foreign films because they just have different tricks.
And you're like,
They're-
oh, that's like some of the best art I've ever seen. Like, that's like better than some of the best plays that I've seen or best novels I've read. Like, this is not, forget movies. This
Right.
is like an amazing human achievement.
Speaking of candles, I actually think in 75 we got 2 because that was when we did Mirror, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
But we also got Barry
Who
Lyndon.
loves to live in London?
I'm just like we're trying to figure out what 1975 is like, and then had to
Mhm.
deal with Mirror and Barry Lyndon all in the same year. That was a lot. But yeah, sometimes it does open up to 2. I totally get having watched Brighter Summer Day. If you're like Beauty and the Beast is the achievement, that does
Yeah.
make sense to me.
No, I get that too. I mean, we haven't said anything about its music yet, and musically, it is like the best Disney movie of all time.
Yeah, the pound for pound songs crush most other Disney songs. I don't know if
Even
there's
though
a real sleeper in
Tarzan,
there.
all the songs were by Phil Collins.
Yeah.
So like that should be,
Do you mean
that
Star of
shitty
Hope,
cop
Phil
from
Collins?
Hook. But it's also it's not just the ballroom scene looks phenomenal. The how they mix old weird Disney abstract and Be Our Guest with normal like we'll show you the characters Disney like that. Also, they're like we can elevate this to art and woke for its time of being like a bookish girl is also important, even
Right,
though there's problematic things now.
And also, sort of, not totally, maybe not totally to the needs of a 2022 watcher, but sort of for the time, flip on its head of the damsel in distress. It has no agency whatsoever. You know, it might not be as much as like Frozen did 30 years
Right.
later, but Belle is, you know, like
She's in
has a lot of
control.
yeah.
She goes to save her dad. He is the damsel in distress, and she's like, "Nah, I got this." And then she learns pretty quickly she could leave almost anytime she fucking wants.
The problem is that like the falling in love with your captor thing that doesn't look great, but
It looks pretty
so
bad.
hot.
Yeah, it is hot though, but it's wrong, Mike. But it's very wrong. And again, maybe we shouldn't be spending so much time talking about how hot Disney movies are in this current political climate.
Hey, we're not in Florida. We can talk about it.
I have to say, I am worried about that thing I talked earlier where we go 1991 movie of the year, Brighter Summer Day.
this would be the one.
But, like, at the same time, I couldn't imagine telling somebody that we have this movie podcast and then we said that we thought Beauty and the Beast was a superior movie on any axes, really. You know, like, I mean, it just feels like you watch these two movies and Beauty and the Beast could be as good as it is and still, like, it's not a near thing for me. It's not like it's almost as good as Brighter Summer Day.
Do you think that there's a world where an animated film that is a family film or kids film could take down an adult artistic film?
Oh yeah, I do. I mean, I would bet more on like that upper echelon of Pixar more than I would do this cell animation of Disney. But yeah, I think so. Like I think
So
Wall-E
you hate
could
cell
destroy.
animation?
I guess if that's the accusation you want to throw at me.
That's what you just said.
No, I agree with Ryan, but it's not going to be when it's one of these life-chinging movies that change your relationship to cinema and art and everything like
I mean,
that.
I think Wall-E is closer to Brighter Summer than I think it's closer to Beauty and the Beast.
And I'd agree with that. Yeah, I mean, Pixar at their absolute best, I think, makes life-changing movies. But Beauty and the Beast, for everything it does, it still, to me, ultimately ends up feeling like, wow, that's a great technical achievement.
For me, I'm sort of at the point where I'm like, hey man, if Brighter Summer Day wins, then when you ask us what movie of the year is, it's just changed from when we started the podcast. Like it used to
Yes.
mean this one thing, and now it means the other. 'Cause
And,
Brighter
yeah,
Summer
it
Day
has
is the-
evolved.
Evolving is okay.
And also, has it changed that much? The 99, the winner was
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut. Like, that's not like the biggest blockbuster
In the year of the
movie.
Matrix, Fight
We've
Club.
never been for the people.
Yeah. Now, we do have to pick, though. So what is it going to be, Mike? Number 3 seed, Beauty and the Beast, or number 11 seed, A Brighter Summer Day?
Beauty and the Beast is the first movie I remember seeing in theaters. I remember, even as a 6-year-old boy, that I shouldn't show the enthusiasm and power that it was washing over me.
that you should cut a hole in the bottom of the popcorn bucket.
Right, and just put a ring pop on my dick and say there's a ring pop in this popcorn. That being said, I can't vote against my guy Cat.
What a great transition.
That being said,
Having said that,
Wow, way to derail myself.
that being said, that
I'm
ring
just
pop
gonna say
thing.
that being said, here's a
Transitioning
completely
off
different. I can't vote against my boy Cat and his love of Elvis or anything of the other amazing moments.
I
of
mean, you
British
would think
Summer Day.
the only axes, Greg, that Beauty and the Beast could win or beat Brighter Summer Day on is music, and you got Mike's boy Cat fucking
Yeah.
crooning the whole movie.
It's hard. So, Ryan, do you agree that a Brighter Summer Day should be the one that moves on?
Yes, absolutely.
Pretty big upset. That's the number 11 seed unseating the number 3 seed. Well, congratulations to A Brighter Summer Day. How much farther can it go? I'm very interested to find out. But before we do that, it's time to talk about the best violence 1991 had to offer. All right, we've had our sex. Now it's time to have our violence.
to eat it too.
We every season we're like trying to scrape together what counts as sex, and then it's like we are trying to figure out only the peak violence, right, Ryan? Would you say that we were blessed with a lot of violence this year?
Yeah, but not as much murder as I would have hoped. Like, for instance, Silence of the Lambs got 0 nominations here.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah.
What about the
So-
one like the creepy like the guards are?
I did want to
the-
ask you about that, Mike, because you and I loved, I won't say anybody else's name, but you and I loved The Hanging Guard, which was just Hannibal. This is where we see what the Hannibal that was on the NBC show of like,
Yeah.
I'm going to take fucking time
Yeah.
to
It
make a painting out of bodies.
A Hermione Bosch fucking corner of one of his paintings. Anthony Hopkins put it in there.
I think I was too disturbed by all the Silence of the Lambs stuff to like give, even though like it is a movie where violence is at the core. I don't know. I think I shied away from it.
So much like Best Sex includes everything from like crazy finger banging to a kiss under flashlight.
Yo, that finger bang was crazy.
I wish that our great sex would be something, or best sex would be something like crazy finger banging.
We'll never get that from movies. But Best Violence sort of covers everything. It's murders, it's death, but it's blood, it's action, it's all of it. Let's start off. Mike, the first nominee is The Murder of a Gang in Brighter Summer Day.
Talk about what you don't show is more
Yeah.
powerful. He just turns out all the lights every time right before another gang member is going to get got, and it's so powerful. And the whole movie does that, is what you see versus what you don't see, and what that says about everybody. But it is, for a movie that's like, yeah, but it's the 50s. I mean, they're a gang, but are they really that scary? Yes, they fucking are. They take out half the city.
There's no boot camp. There's no training. So how hardcore could they be, right? Oh, they could be hardcore. This fucking effect of strobe lighting the camera drives me crazy. And I can't believe I can watch a movie from 91 where maybe, for all I know, like everything I've seen since then has been copying this. And
Right.
it doesn't drive me crazy at all because it's not. It's for the effect that the director intended instead of a director saying, like, I don't know, fucking turn the lights on and off.
I don't know
Also,
what to show.
rather than every like strobe be like a cool pose, every time you see what's going on, it's just like it's a crush of people, and it's somebody
Yeah.
falling and someone screaming. And so rather than like dramatizing the violence, it just makes it seem chaotic and terrible.
And also, like, with what the gangs are wearing and, like, the whole, like, culture question of, like, I don't even know what culture we are anymore. And then you see that in this fight of who do we murder and who are we. Man, sorry, Mike. I also agree this should win. So me and you are on this one. Greg, is this the most iconic thing in pop filter history? It's Billy Cole murdering 25 football players with a gun on the football field.
I have to say, as I look back at this movie, a movie I saw a few times in my childhood, and I think of like certain parts of it, I think of 3 horribly violent things, and it's basically all I can remember. And the first one is,
Yeah,
I
don't
mean-
say the other ones yet. 'cause
yeah,
they're-
honestly,
Hey, Mike, come on.
yeah, the "Ain't Life a Bitch"? Isn't that what the line? That
Yeah.
I mean, that stuck with me when I was a kid. Like the.
You're like, it is Billy Cole. It is.
I was like, I guess. I mean, after what you just fucking did. I
Sure,
guess
wait, hold on.
so.
Let me write this down real quick.
I have seen this movie once, and maybe I said this on the episode. I've seen this scene 1,000 times because Ryan will just get up in the middle of the night and text it to me. So it's a very impactful
Football
scene.
is football like the best sport to have a pistol during.
Well,
I mean, he uses it to great effect.
I think it's the most accurate, and we did talk about this on the bonus show. He was about to score that touchdown and then not get killed by the mobsters, but instead he decided to pull a gun out and just kill himself. That's football, baby. That is concussions. That is brain damage. That is CTE. Where is Will Smith to figure this shit out?
Probably slapping somebody, right? Frankly, if
Greg,
we
you
know
didn't
what
even
that
take
guy...
the time to think of a joke right there.
Yeah, get
That-
my favorite actor's name out of your fucking mouth.
That's some
Ryan.
best violence right there.
Greg, let's just move right to the other part. It's Bruce Willis pushes Chet's nose through his brain. How impactful was this on our lives?
When I was a kid, like the idea that you could break someone's nose and cause like the cartilage to go up into their brain, that factored into a lot of stuff.
It kept me from beating up people.
Yeah,
I was
you gotta
so nervous
be
of
careful.
that.
You got to be careful, right?
What if I just trip and fling my hand? I might kill my friend.
Now, we have found out later that it's not really possible in the way movies led us to believe. But
What?
I don't think it was ever done in any movie as effectively as this. He just does it in one quick move, shoves a guy's nose bone into his brain, and the guy just falls onto his butt and then falls over.
No, forward. Hits his knees
Oh, okay.
and then falls to the ground.
That's also got to hurt, but he's already dead, so probably
And that
not.
was, Mike, what's his name? Kim
Coates?
Coates from Sons of Anarchy and
Yeah.
Van Helsing on Sci-Fi.
Yep. Van Helsing, now on Sci-Fi. Will you ever meet Van Helsing? No, you will not.
All right, so there's two Last Boy Scout nominees and A Brighter Summer Day. Is there any other action movie that we are forgetting about?
Is it
Hook. Give us the hook.
Rufio getting killed was
sad.
eligible. It was
Too
too
sad.
sad.
too sad?
It's too sad, too real.
I'm going to give you guys both one. Mike, the truck chase. The L.A. River truck chase.
It is so long, and also shows you the violence of the city and the lack of water.
Mhm.
But
The LA
Chinatown,
River
basically.
reduced to nothing.
it's not flash and bang the way like modern Fast and Furious style car chase movies are, but like how much you see, and it's so brutal. And watching this big fucking truck demolish everything in his way versus this kid's little moped. It's riveting. It's dope as hell.
I respect so much the fact that in no Terminator movie does anybody ever get in a fast car.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody one time ever
There will be
gets
no drifting.
Yeah, there's like no Corvettes, like not even like the mid-tier fast cars. They're just like, get me the biggest, slowest fucking truck for this car chase.
Which brings me to what I was hoping to get nominated because it was something that isn't as memorable. But watching it recently, I loved it, was them in the gardener's truck with a
Yeah.
helicopter
Yeah.
behind them. How
That
is
one is
that
dope.
not as iconic? But Greg, the fifth nominee is the steel mill. What are all of the elements that make the steel mill a nominee?
Okay, well, it's like got some of the best music cues. We've got like the liquid Terminator becoming as evil as he ever is, and it like costing him. Like he starts taking too much like sadistic pleasure
Right.
in hurting humans. And
Because he's supposed to be so methodical, right? And like he's just supposed to like do what the numbers tell him to do.
the amazing like Arnold Schwarzenegger getting his head smashed in by the bar over time. But I think what like there's a lot going on in this scene, the falling into the molten lava, him like the T-800 being lowered into the lava and giving his thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
But for me, the most representative thing is Linda Hamilton with that pump action shotgun, just
Yeah.
one
Hell
arm.
yeah.
And like that is like the kernel of that scene, which is the kernel of the movie, which is like the whole thing, right? And so for me, I was really, and the music cues there, right? I mean, the music
Should
is
she
just.
have cocked it 5 times? Just like
I think she should have done the Superman thing, where after like she realized it was unloaded, or it was empty, even though she had shot this guy like 5 times, she should just chuck the rifle at him, just chuck a shotgun at him.
And let's point out that Arnold, being a little bit of a bitch in the L.A. Ravine scene, is doing the shotgun with it's like the hand cock, like
Yeah.
right by the trigger.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton is using one arm with a full pump action.
Yeah, yeah. I man, this is probably the most exciting part of the movie.
All right, your nominees are The Murder of a Gang from Brighter Summer Day, Billy Cole shooting a football team in The Last Boy Scout, Joe pushes Chet's nose through his brain in The Last Boy Scout, The Steel Mill from Terminator 2, The Truck Chase from Terminator 2, and I'm going to throw in there the helicopter chase from Terminator 2. Why not? I can just add that in there, right?
If it wins, that's weird.
I think on the level of imagery, that's the best one. All right, here we go. Opening an envelope like a normal person.
Are you from Kids in the Hall? Because I hear some Dave Foley right now.
It is Daryl getting shot in Thelma and Louise.
Wait, hold on.
Hold on 1 second here. That's not what happened.
We have a Warren Beatty fade down away moment.
Sorry. It's the truck.
Nadim Dizel.
It's the truck chase. T2 Judgment Day. And I assume this is the helicopter chasing the gardening
That's the
truck
helicopter
chase?
chasing the truck and then high-fiving in the middle.
All right.
I don't know just one.
It is the T2 truck chase. So the riverbed
Okay, good,
truck
good, good,
chase
good,
was
good,
the actual.
Yeah, like the Arnold driving off the bridge and then landing on the ground,
Yeah.
and then I think most importantly is Arnold perfectly shooting the locks of every gate that he goes through.
Yes.
like there's so many.
Another big one is the T1000 driving his truck under the bridge and it shears off the roof. And for a second they cut to Eddie Furlong and Arnold Schwarzenegger and they're both like, "Whew, guess
Yeah.
he's gone."
You
and then
fucking morons.
And then
You
he pops up and knocks the windshield out of his way. Well, that is winner for Best Violence. The winners of our individual matchups were Silence of the Lambs moving on, Thelma and Louise moving on, Barton Fink moving on, and A Brighter Summer Day moving on. That is our final 4.
This is nuts.
Among those 4 is 1991's Movie of the Year. And you can check that out next week when we tell you our last Moody winners and our overall winner for Movie of the Year. But until then, do me a favor, won't you? And keep watching them movies.